If we talk about digital eye strain, obviously the name comes from the ocular and visual discomfort that comes from using digital devices, and versus the eye strain that we might get from, say, reading and writing, those more sort of more traditional sources of doing lots of near work. And the difference between that kind of eye strain and digital eye strain is that when we're using things, particularly like laptops and desktops, your eyes are in an elevated position, which makes the opening of your eyelids wider. And so there's more surface of your eye to be exposed, to be drying out. And in any activity where we're concentrating, we don't blink as often. And then not only that, and we've spoken on this on some other videos, is that we get into doing these little habits of half blinks as well, which start to compound the problem. And the distinction starts to become a little messy, because with digital eye strain, you can get some of the symptoms that you might get from dry eye. So sore, gritty eyes, maybe your eyes might water, maybe they might sting. And they can be some of the symptoms that might indicate that you have a dry eye disease. And a dry eye disease is a more chronic condition, and probably, our lifestyle of doing lots of digital work may actually lead and be one of the things that lead to eventual, like actual dry eye condition. So there's a bit of a spectrum of how this kind of runs. You could probably say that digital eye strain might be something that you only notice after a session on the computer or a session at work. But we need to be careful to kind of tease that out and make sure that you're not just putting it off to, oh, it's just a bit of eye strain. That's just a consequence of doing lots of near work, versus having some sort of underlying problem like a dry eye disease that needs treating. Or as we'll discuss, there are other eye teaming or binocular vision issues that can create sore eyes and stinging and those sorts of things as well while you're doing near work. And so we need to sort of tease those sort of things out.
So just to confirm here, somebody could have dry eye disease without doing any kind of digital work at all. So it's a condition in its own right, isn't it? So perhaps you might want to just give us a quick explanation of what causes dry eye disease.
Yeah, look, the most common dry eye disease is what we call an evaporative dry eye. So it's the tear film evaporating a lot more quickly than is ideal. Most often it's caused by the meibomian glands, the little oil glands that sit in our eyelids. I mean, what they're meant to do is every time we blink, it squeezes the gland and we get this thin oil film over the top of our tear layer, which prevents the tears evaporating too quickly. So a combination of good, complete blinks that refresh the tear film over the front of the eye, plus those glands actually expressing the oils, is what a healthy tear film is. So if you start to lack those oils being spread, you then really relying on making sure you've got a very good blink rate, which then gets exacerbated, obviously, when we're not blinking as much on computer screens. So you've actually got something wrong with the glands that either need support through artificial tears, lubricants, those sorts of things, or treatments to try and decrease inflammation in the eyelids, using therapies to try and get the meibomian glands working better and producing a better quality oil. And so that's when you're getting into a dry eye disease state where we actually need to be doing therapeutic things to improve how the tears are actually working.
So it's the quality of the tear film, mostly. That's the root cause of dry eye disease.
That's the issue, and that's what we've got to look at in terms of if people complaining about discomfort when they're using the computer. I mean, is it just from the activity itself, and there are things that you're doing where you're kind of overdoing it, and so yes, maybe it's a natural consequence of doing that work. And if we recognize that, what are the things that we can do to try and reduce that, versus the activity highlighting an underlying problem like a early dry eye disease or some sort of binocular vision problem.